Physical hazards in confined spaces. In addition to engulfment, a myriad of other physical hazards may be present in a confined space. These will be determined by the size, configuration, and materials present in and around a given site. Let us discuss a few common physical hazards associated with confined spaces. The configuration of a confined space presents a significant hazard for workers who enter such spaces. A confined space with a small cross-section may develop a hazardous atmosphere when there is inadequate ventilation. This configuration could also prevent entrants from escaping the space unaided, and add to the difficulty of rescuing workers in case of an emergency. The presence of flammable gases or liquids in a confined space presents the risk of a fire or explosion. Flammable liquids and gases not only create a hazardous atmosphere within the space, but also present a physical hazard. If an ignition source is introduced into a flammable atmosphere, the resulting explosion may cause the release of hot gases as well as structural disintegration of the confined space. Poor lighting can be a major hazard in a confined space. It is important to remember that any lighting device taken into a permit space must be explosion-proof, and not a possible source of ignition. Extremely hot or cold temperatures in a confined space can be dangerous and hazardous for workers. Employees can be affected by heat exhaustion or heat stroke when working in confined spaces, especially if they are wearing bulky personal protective equipment, PPE. Similarly, workers may have limited dexterity in extremely cold weather conditions. Sustained, loud noises not only damage a person's hearing, but they also reduce a person's ability to concentrate. Moreover, loud noise may interfere with the communication between the authorized entrance and safety attendant. Employers must provide workers exposed to excessive noise with appropriate ear protection. Slippery ladders and walkways pose a fall hazard for workers in confined spaces. Wet surfaces can also increase the risk of electrocution in areas where electrical equipment is used. Therefore, all unnecessary items must be kept out of the way and workers should be informed of the possible slip, trip, and fall hazards they may encounter in a confined space. Flash flooding is of special concern for work operations performed in sewer systems. Supervisors should be aware of weather conditions and other situations that could lead to flooding in the confined space. Given the close quarters of many confined spaces and the presence of workers clad in bulky PPE, any unplanned activation of equipment could cause severe injury to workers. Therefore, it is essential to de-energize and lock out all electrical circuits, and to physically disconnect all mechanical equipment before work begins. Falling objects can injure workers in a confined space, especially in spaces where entry points are located at the top, through which tools could fall in and strike workers below. Release of material through lines in the confined space can pose serious hazards for personnel in the space. All lines should be physically disconnected, blanked off, or controlled with a double block and bleed system.